Hey everybody, welcome to the Stock Car Spectacle. I'm Ian Jortson.
I'm Mike Gamble.
And I'm Nick Kinzel.
And joining us still, we got Patrick Cotto from the Cotto's Mojo joining us. Patrick, thanks for joining us for another episode.
No problem, Ian. Thank you for having me. It's always a pleasure being on the Stock Car Spectacle.
Oh yeah, make sure to check out Patrick Cotto with the Cotto's Mojo on all podcast platforms. It's a great sports podcast, so make sure to check it out. All right, so we got a new show today. Well, new-ish. Last year we had the Gamblers Gossip Corner, where we discussed off-track topics and silly season news and all that. So we figured we'd bring that back, but with a new name. Mike's got his show, the Gamblers Picks. Nick's got the Kinzel's Classroom. So I figured I need my own show. So today I'm bringing you Ian's Pitstop, where we're going to bring you all off-track news. So let's dig right into it. Now, one of the biggest news updates that we got from the past couple days is that Auto Club Speedway will be demolished next year and be turned into a half-mile track with straightaways like Martinsville and banking like Bristol. It will be ready for the 2022 season. Guys, what do you think about that? I know it's at the cost of Auto Club, where we get lots of good racing, where we get multiple grooves, but we are getting another short track. So what do you guys have to say about that?
So, talking about Auto Club, I'm going to miss the racetrack. I thought this was a track that put on some of the best multi-groove racing just because of the surface. But now we've had like a week or two to kind of dwell on this, and now I'm kind of okay with it because some drivers brought up some very good points about Auto Club. It's an old track. It's going to be due for a resurface it was going to be due for a repavement at some given time really soon. And we all know how a newly repaved track is. It's not very fun for passing on because there's just no grooves, there's no rubber down. So I'm kind of okay with it. And NASCAR wants more short tracks. The fans want more short tracks. And I kind of like how they're doing this with the Martinsville straight and back straightaway and then Bristol in the turn. I think those are your two best short tracks right there. So why not put them together? I do think that there are other good short tracks I could have went to, like in Iowa per se. There's so many good short tracks, but this is all for like ratings and viewership out there. There's not a ton of that out in Iowa. Get one in California, and there you go. So the more I dwell on it, I like that they're doing this. I'm ready to see a new short track for sure because all the fans want more short track racing.
Yeah, buddy. I mean, there's a lot I agree with there. Obviously, like you said, for me too, the news of getting away from Auto Club was a bit of a shock and was like ripping a Band-Aid off at first, kind of stung. But I love the racing there. I think that 2-mile track is one of the more unique and one of the more interesting races we get year in and year out. I think one thing you didn't touch on, though, that's also important to bring up too, is one of the things this allows them to do is have a whole lot of opportunities with land around the racetrack. And I'm going to draw a parallel here. Auto Club in Chicagoland, because I hope this is something that they would consider doing with Chicagoland as well, because you can have one of two unique opportunities here. First and foremost, one of the things that's a knock on both locations is there's nothing really around the racetracks. They're away from the cities. You kind of got to travel to get to them, even from the big cities. So at other tracks, NASCAR's done a great job of building up amenities and things like that around the track, like Kansas with the casinos and all that. We saw proposed Atlanta plans last year that haven't come to fruition yet with like resorts and all that kind of stuff. In the LA area, with the value of land, you can either build up around it and make the area around there attractive for people to come visit, or that's a whole lot of valuable land that you could sell off and use those assets another way in the sport. Chicagoland's in that same kind of situation. We've seen the reports of NASCAR Chicagoland in the city looking to sell some of that land off to businesses like Amazon in the area that are budding. I think that would be almost like a perfect scenario for Chicagoland to kind of follow suit, because you cut down the size of the facility, you can sell some of that stuff and probably still have opportunities to grow around the area and reinvigorate interest in the sport in our area of Chicagoland.
All right. Patrick, what do you think about more short tracks coming in NASCAR, buddy?
It's going to bring a lot of excitement. because just watching, obviously this is my first time watching NASCAR in a long time because when I was a little kid, I used to watch it a lot growing up when Jeff Gordon was racing. Stopped watching it, got back into watching it, and the short track racing at Bristol, Martinsville has not disappointed. And that's what we need. I mean, as much as I love the long tracks, we could use some entertainment from the short tracks then and there. Plus, we were talking about fans and stuff. The stands can now fill up, can now be built around the track, and because we're living in a pandemic. Bristol was fortunate enough to have 30,000 at the All-Star race. Well, now those other short tracks, they can easily fill up, parts of the stands, depending on, how long we will be lasting in this thing. Hopefully not long. I'm crossing my fingers.
Right. But yeah, more short tracks definitely adds more fun and excitement to it. I cannot wait to see this track coming up.
I want to add in one thing. It's kind of not NASCAR related, but so I found a meme online. So it was a picture of the trucks parked in a parking lot on those short tracks. And the other picture was just your typical idiot driver, double parking. It said, if you can park like these truckers can, then you people can park between these two lines.
Oh,
with the haulers?
Yes.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I mean, it takes a lot of skill to drive those things.
Exactly. So it shouldn't be that hard just to park a normal car between two spots. It's not that hard.
Right.
Seriously. And yet again, you wonder, how do people have their license?
That's what I wonder every day, buddy. All right, guys, so let's get into some other breaking news. It was announced a few days ago that Camping World is coming back as the Truck Series title sponsor. We did have Camping World as the title sponsor a few years ago. It moved over to Gander Outdoors, but Marcus Lemonis has come back with the Camping World name to sponsor the Truck Series. So I've always liked the Camping World name. I never really liked the Gander RV Outdoors World, whatever the hell it is, because I thought it was way too long anyway. But Camping World Truck Series, welcome back.
Yeah,
it's short and sweet to the point.
Yep. I care more about, in this situation, Marcus Lemonis coming back into a bigger role than anything. I think as an owner and a sponsor, a business owner, I should say, and a sponsor, he's the exact kind of guy NASCAR needs. He's very invested in this sport. He reminds me a little bit of like how Busch is. Like, they're very invested in NASCAR. Their social media does a good job, being present in the sport and with the demographic. Marcus does a lot of those things on his own personal Twitter. Earlier in the year before everything got crazy, you saw him, getting in on Bounty Gate with Kyle Busch and the Truck Series and all that. So a guy like him that's not only putting up money to sponsor the sport, but being a very active sponsor is only going to benefit NASCAR.
Yeah, no doubt about that. All right, guys, so let's get into some silly season news. So this broke a little while back. We had Bubba Wallace saying that he will not be returning to Richard Petty Motorsports in 2021. So where does Bubba Wallace go, guys? He's got lots of money. He's got lots of sponsors right now. We know that he drives the hell out of that 43, which is very, very, very underfunded. There you go, Patrick. He's got a great personality. There's really no reason why that this guy should not be able to take a top ride like the 48 or the 42.
Exactly.
So what ride do you think that Bubba will be going to? Mike, let's start off with you.
Okay, so I am an avid listener to the Door Bumper Clear podcast with all the spotters, Freddie, Brett, TJ, the whole cast. They had Bubba on this week. While he didn't come out and say, this is where I'm going, he was very, very tongue-in-cheek about, and kind of like playing his, I kind of know where I'm going is basically the vibe I got. And what I gathered from it was he's betting on himself to get into a situation that's a competitive ride where he can go win races every year. So that way, either, hey, no more excuses as to I'm not in the top ride. if I can't win at this point, then it's on me. It's on Bubba Wallace. And he was very open and candid with that. With that being said, there's only one of 3 things I could see him doing. First and foremost would be the 48. Second would be the 42. And the third one would be Denny Hamlin buys up a team, brings in a boatload of funding and backing from Toyota, and basically makes them like what LFR was to Toyota this past year, or to Joe Gibbs this past year, but maybe even better, almost like a Furniture Row, maybe even. We can argue as to which one of those is going to be the better option, but those where I think are the 3 best options that he could have. I would personally love to see him go to the 48 as a Jeff Gordon fan growing up, a huge Hendrick Motorsports fan growing up. Be a really cool thing to see one of my favorite drivers back at HMS. So that's what I would like to see. But in all honesty, I probably see it falling with him going to the 42.
Yeah.
All right.
I would also love to see Bubba go to the 48, but from what I've been seeing, we don't know how true these rumors are. I kind of do see him going to. I think what's going to happen is Denny Hamlin is going to, is going to buy out Gaunt Brothers Racing, and with Toyota backing and with Denny Hamlin backing, I think it's going to be a hell of a lot more competitive ride than what the 96 is this year. And it better be if this is what's going to happen with Bubba Wallace, because why would he give something up? Why would he want to go grow with this team when he already had a team that was going in the right direction? They were willing to grow with him. That doesn't make much sense to me. So, in all honesty, I think Bubba does go to the 96 car, and he's going to have a hell of a lot more backing with all the sponsors he's bringing, with Denny Hamlin's backing, with Toyota's backing. Like Mike said, I think this could turn into a potential Furniture Row ride. So I see Bubba going to the 96 for the 2021 season.
All right.
My only concern, if that's the route you're gonna go, if I'm Bubba, with the backing he's got financially, the sponsors he's bringing with him, the notoriety that he's drawn off the racetrack, this is your one chance to really get yourself into a great position.
Right.
If I'm him, there's no way I'm passing up on one of those top rides that's established. Because, again, you could get into this situation with Denny Hamlin and something falls through on the 11th hour, or, these things don't always work out. So, if you go to Hendrick Motorsports, they get the best of the best of the best to work for their race teams.
Depends on what's been offered to him. We don't know if Hendrick has even reached out with an offer to him yet.
No, absolutely. But I'm just saying, if you in the event of an HMS, what they have to offer. They're one of the best teams. When you go there, you're going to get the equipment you need to win. That's the case at Stewart Haas. That would probably be the case with the 42 in a lot of different ways. We've seen Kyle Larson win races in that car in the past. I just think in that situation of building a team from scratch to be like the next super team, so much can go wrong. It's just such a big gamble that if I'm Bubba, I'm not doing that unless I go to one of these teams for a year or two and it doesn't work out.
Right. All right, Pat, where do you think that Bubba Wallace is going to land next year?
I'm rolling with you boys too. I think he should go to the 48 because the 48, great team, had produced a great driver in Jimmy Johnson. Bubba had a lot of great opportunities with the 43. It's just that, crappy car, but he has gained a lot of good sponsorship. I don't know. He was following basically the footsteps of Jimmy Johnson, who was a great in the race. And now, Bubba is showing it. So why not fill in those shoes for the 48 to continue its success?
All right. For me, I think that I really want what Bubba Wallace to go to the 48. I really think it's a possible ride for him. That car already has sponsor backing, but it wouldn't help. It would help a lot with more sponsors coming to that car, and he's got a lot of personality. He's one of the most popular guys in NASCAR right now, and we know that Hendrick Motorsports is that team where they have the most popular guys. You know, they had Jeff Gordon, they had Dale Jr., they had Jimmy Johnson. So why not bring back a superstar lineup and add Bubba Wallace to the lineup? And then this news broke a few days ago. We had Daniel Suarez and Gaunt Brothers Racing announcing that Daniel Suarez will not be returning to the 96. So where does Daniel Suarez go? Will he take his talents to the 43? There's been rumors that he might be going over to Richard Petty Motorsports. Well, you know, he hasn't really showed much talent in the Cup Series. You could blame that on being brought up too early from the departure of Carl Edwards. You know, from taking over the 19 ride after he retired and then taking over the 41 after Kurt Busch left Stewart-Haas Racing. Or should he go back to the Xfinity Series and try to, you know, remake a name for himself since he was brought up way too early throughout the system?
Well, I'll be the first one to say it. You could give him the excuse that he was brought up too early, but this is what, year 4 into Daniel Suarez's Cup career. Are we still going to let that excuse fly? I think that goes for maybe the first 2 years for him, but he just didn't do anything. He was the only Gibbs car to not make the playoffs when he was driving the 19 car. And look at the 41 ride he had last year. He was better in the 41 car, and he still failed to make the playoffs. And we knew he wasn't going to be good this year in the 96 car because the 96 car just doesn't have that equipment. So, honestly, is Daniel Suarez worthy of having a Cup ride is the real question. And for me right now, I'm kind of leaning towards no because I just haven't seen anything out of this guy. He was great in the Xfinity Series, the first Mexican champion of the Xfinity Series. So that was awesome to see. He was really good down there. But just at the Cup level, he was brought up early, yes, but he still failed to perform in some of the best rides out there. So if I'm Daniel Suarez, I don't know if I'm getting a Cup ride out of him.
So do you think that he's going to go back to Xfinity?
I don't know what he's going to do, to be honest with you. I don't know where would be a good fit for him in the Xfinity Series. Maybe he goes down and drives an RCR Xfinity car or something like that. I've heard rumors of that before, so you just don't know. But for me right now, I just don't see how this guy's deserving of a Cup ride. I think there's more deserving guys than Daniel Suarez.
All right, Mike?
So I think Daniel Suarez is a really interesting one when it comes to this silly season for a multitude of reasons. Number one, the Gaunt brothers' decision never really made a whole lot of sense to me. The rumor at the time was that his sponsors were pushing for him to stay into Cup instead of going back down to a competitive Xfinity team. Is that still the case? Because I can't see other than, you know, just being one of those things where like, hey, it's going to be a tough year. Let's get through this and then reassess the market again the next year. Other than that, I don't really know what he was trying to accomplish by going to that 96 team.
Yeah, I thought they were doing this for like a long-term project. I thought this is what this Gaunt Bros team was going to turn into.
Yeah. So I think now what we've seen is it's just been that. It's just been like, hey, man, let's just get through this year, take a breather, reevaluate the situation for 2021. What we do know about the market so far is he has a lot of financial backing, and he is an Xfinity champion, and we've seen a lot of guys get by and get on to their next ride with those two credentials alone. One thing we know about Richard Petty Motorsports is Andrew Murstein, their owner, is very big on diversity. Obviously, Bubba Wallace, the first African-American driver in a long time, the only one in the field now. Before that, Eric Almirola, a Cuban-American driver. People kind of will forget about that from time to time, too. They're very big on diversity. I see a guy like Suarez being right in their kind of wheelhouse. So I think that's a very possible situation, especially with Bubba leaving and taking all the money with him wherever he decides to go. So he fills a void in two things that they are not only needing but desiring as well. I see that being a good fit, but I could see him going to a couple different situations. I could see him being a guy that Denny considers for his project solely because they have familiarity together. From Joe Gibbs, he is a Toyota driver, so he checks a couple boxes there. And I do still think there is some potential in Daniel Suarez, but where I kind of would tend to see him going here, where I kind of project it would be one of these middle to later third in the field tier rides to try it. That's a little more competitive. Not saying it will be JTG, but like a JTG, a Go Fast, or a Richard Petty to almost do what a Corey LaJoy or an Eric Almirola has done before him, to go down there, outperform his equipment, prove he does belong here, and then try to propel back to a top ride. So that would be kind of I'm not going to pick one ride, but that's like the avenue I think that Suarez will land in.
Yeah, definitely. Like Mike said, very diverse team.
Maybe he could have success like Bubba did, and if he has success, maybe later on he could get in a better car.
Yeah, we'll see if he improves from what he's doing right now. All right, guys. So some other big news that broke a few days ago. We had Geico is planning on leaving Germain Racing at the end of this season, focusing on sponsoring the Cup Series full time. So now there's reports that Germain Racing is planning on being sold. So if so, where does Dillon go? Does he go to RCR, drive for his pop for a third car, or does he explore other ventures? Like, he said, for the Cup Series that he didn't really want to drive for his family, which, I kind of respect that. But does he take a third car in RCR? I mean, I'm sure Pop would definitely open up one for him.
Well, he's an interesting one too, because there were also rumors that he may not want to continue in racing. I had heard that in a couple spots too, that maybe he's going to retire at the end of the year. And he's another guy that would have been rumored to go down to the Xfinity series. Another option too, don't forget too, with the merger, that 43 car, Richard Petty, is essentially a third RCR car in a lot of ways in and of itself. So, again, one thing people forget about too when it comes to the silly season stuff, a lot of these moves can be political too. Don't you I could easily see, and don't you guys think this as well? I could see Richard Childress telling Andrew Mercy and Richard Petty, listen, let's put Ty in the 43. You'll get a little more backing from us. We'll send some more chassis your way, give you guys a little more of the our engine program the best we can. We'll try to make that car a little more competitive and try to fill a little bit more of that gap that Bubba left left behind when he moved on. I could see that being an option for him too. He's another one. I don't know where he's going to go, but unless Richard Childress kind of flexes some of his influence on the situation, I think he'll be one of those guys that won't go until a couple of the other dominoes kind of fall. I think there'll be a couple bigger fish in the pond to stake their new rides before we figure out what Ty's doing.
Yeah, I tend to agree. I think the 43 is a good option for him. He has said multiple times that he does not want to drive for Richard Childress Racing in the Cup Series. He doesn't want to do that, so I don't see him going to a third RCR car. But then the 32, like a team like that, like a Go Fast, a Richard Petty Motorsports, somewhere in that ballpark. I don't see him. I think he would retire, then go back to an Xfinity Series ride. I just don't see that happening. So somewhere in the Go Fast to RPM is where I see Ty Dillon going if he gets a ride next year.
All right. So some other news. This has been through the rumor mill for a while that Denny Hamlin has been wanting to buy a team, but now there's more reports that he might be buying Gaunt Brothers Racing, put some more backing in there. They're already part of Toyota, so that's where Denny is with Joe Gibbs Racing. So could he buy Gaunt Brothers Racing, make that his own team, and possibly make it like another Furniture Row?
Well, yeah, that's what I was kind of touched on when we were making our Bubba predictions. I think that's what's going to happen. That he's going to purchase Gaunt Bros, and he's going to make that a good ride for Bubba. Or if not, he could even make that for an Eric Jones, because Eric Jones has been a Toyota driver his entire life. So I don't know what offers that Eric Jones has on the table right now. We know he's a leading candidate for the 42 ride, or he's still in the mix for the 48 as well, but maybe he stays with Toyota and he teams up with Denny, because I don't think Toyota wants to let go of Eric Jones. I just don't think they do. So I think that could be a smart move as well.
Yeah, I think that's a big possibility. I think an Eric Jones alliance with whatever Denny decides to do, which team he decides to try to build, would make a lot of sense. But there's one that makes a little more sense to me in this situation. Denny's got a buddy who is a pretty damn good race car driver. He's out of work at the Cup Series at this for getting in some trouble. And we know Chevy probably doesn't want to sign this guy back in their camp. If I'm connecting the dots here, one guy that makes a whole lot of sense for me for Denny Hamlin to help get back into a race car and try to be competitive is a race-winning driver, a second chance story in Mr. Kyle Larson. So if I'm Denny Hamlin, that's who I'm going after first and foremost. We talk a little bit about Eric Jones. Eric Jones is a proven winner at every level of his career, but we cannot understate the fact that although he's won races at the Cup level, he has drastically underperformed in that 20 car. He's routinely the worst car at Joe Gibbs, on top of the fact that he's going to be leaving there. And from things I've heard and seen, seems like he's going to have little to no financial backing coming with him. So he's going to be looking to probably go to a situation that's going to be fully funded. I don't know if Denny can buy a team, bring in all that funding, and not ask for his driver to also, in turn, bring a little piece of the pie themselves.
Right. So yeah, you kind of mentioned him here. Kyle Larson. Is he coming back to NASCAR? We have seen him dominate in the dirt world. Just winning every single weekend. Every time that there is a World of Outlaws race or any other dirt series race, he is winning. So there's been talks that he might be the top candidate for the 48 ride. But does Chevy take him back because they already fired him? Do they look at, he might have paid his dues, but does Chevy want to take that risk? Do these sponsors, with whoever's going to sponsor, take that risk?
I think they'd be dumb if they didn't, to be honest with you. I think Kyle Larson has fully paid his dues, and I think he fits in at a Hendrick Motorsports, honestly. I think Rick has got that power and I think that if he pulls them in, I think Chevy, I know Chevrolet fired him, but I still see the 48 being the best fit for Kyle Larson. We thought originally it was going to be Stewart-Haas Racing in the 14 ride, but it looks like they're in talks already with re-signing Boyer, so you just don't know. But I think Kyle Larson absolutely deserves a second shot here, and why not put him in the 4080? I think he'll do great things for that team. Just on Chevrolet, because it's a fully funded car, so I guess it's really on Ally and Chevrolet. Do they want to represent Kyle Larson? Because I think Rick Hendrick would definitely want to.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with a lot of your points. I feel like it does make a lot of sense for him to go to the 48, although I just don't think that's what's going to happen. With Chevy firing Kyle, to me, it's not the best look for them to then in turn bring him back. I think it would bode better for another team to sign him as a second chance kind of story. Like I said, if I'm Denny Hamlin, that's the guy I'm going after to start my team with, and I want to drive my race car and build a future dynasty around. If I'm Rick Hendrick is a businessman with the Ally ride already having most of the funding or all of the funding they need. A guy like Eric Jones makes a lot of sense to me. A guy like a Bubba Wallace makes a lot of sense to me, who's also coming in with money. The Kyle Larson thing, again, you're getting a winning race car driver. There will be some fallout. I think it'd be either Eric Jones or Bubba in the 48 next year, not Kyle Larson. I think Kyle Larson either goes to another team or, like I said, a Denny Hamlin kind of project.
All right. Yeah, I could totally see that happening there. All right, guys. Well, this was fun talking some news and some silly season news. You guys got anything else to add before we head off?
Only thing I want to add, we've got a couple rides. From things I've heard, I listened to Corey LaJoie's Sunday Money podcast before we came on, and they talked a lot of silly season. And it sounds like Corey seemed very confident in this, as well as he commented on Bubba's situation. These are things we should be finding out pretty quickly here. I don't think either one of those two situations are going to kind of get drawn out. Like I said, I think Bubba's situation, I think they kind of know what they're doing. They're just waiting to put pen to paper. And from what I gathered from the the kind of demeanor of the conversation with Corey LaJoie. He's kind of in the same kind of situation. So should be fun. I think those dominoes fall, and then everything kind of falls in line with those. And then Kyle Larson being the ultimate X factor. So.
All right. So that will do it for Ian's Pit Stop. We thank you guys for watching this new episode that we have brought out. We figured that this would be the perfect time to start it back up. We'd like to thank our guest, Patrick Cotto, for joining us. It's always fun having you on, buddy. And you can follow Patrick Cotto with the Cotto's Mojo podcast on all podcast platforms. You can find him on Twitter and Instagram as well. You can find me, Nick, and Mike on all social media platforms, along with the Stock Car Spectacle. So that will do it for us. I'm Ian Jortson.
I'm Mike Gamble.
And I'm Nick Kinzel.